Session is resumed. Senator Recto.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. President. I will try
Once more.
to be as brief as possible. Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, how much again is the budget of the Department of Health?
126 billion, Mr. President.
That already includes the special purpose funds.
What?
Because there is another item in the budget for the specialty
Your question
hospital.
is special purpose funds?
Special purpose.
Is that your question, Mr. President? Or the specialty hospitals?
It's under the special purpose, right?
Budgetary support to government corporations.
Meaning the hospitals. Yeah.
There's an additional.
That includes the specialty hospitals.
Correct. So all included.
Yes, Mr.
So
President.
it's about 126 billion.
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay. And what is the biggest item in that 126 billion budget?
PhilHealth, Mr. President.
The biggest item would be subsidy for the insurance payment, premium payment of indigent families and senior citizens, I suppose.
Yes, Mr. President.
And for 2016, that is about how much?
43.8
Billion.
billion, Mr.
Okay.
President.
And that 43.8 billion will cover how many indigent families?
15.4 million indigent families, Mr. President, and 2.8 million senior citizens.
Okay. Okay, let us start first with the 15.4 million. That is 3/4 of the entire population. Is that correct?
No, the total of the
There are only 20 million families.
ibang definition to the
Mr. President, they have a different definition of family.
as against
So how many families, based on their definition, how many families are there in the Philippines, Mr. President?
in the Philippines, I don't know, but we have indigent.
They have indigent families, Mr. President.
No, the question is how many, in their definition, how many families are there in the Philippines? And how many members to a family in their definition?
Wala rin kami multiplier, we count by actual numbers.
So what's how many?
The 15 million covers 45 million members and
No, but the question is how many in your definition? How many families are there?
we don't know the number of families in the entire Philippines.
But you want to say that?
Our definition of families is based on our 21 year olds below. In other words, a 21-year, a 22-year-old who has no asawa is considered as family as far as we are concerned.
So how do you define your family?
Below 21,
Mr. President, they cannot give an answer as to how many families there are. They can only give an answer as to how many indigent families there are. If you wish, Mr. President, we can go to
Mr. President, we could never have universal health care coverage if the PhilHealth or the Department of Health does not have an idea of how many families we have in the Philippines, Mr. President. Let me again repeat, Mr. President. Roughly, there are 20 million families in the country. The average family is 5, husband and wife, and 3 children. That's 100 million Filipinos.
I agree, Mr. President.
With regard to PhilHealth, actual families are actually bigger. Why is that, Mr. President? A paying family, or if you're a member of PhilHealth and you're paying, kasama hindi lang yung anak mo, pero kasama pa yung magulang mo as a dependent. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, that's correct,
So
Mr. President.
theoretically, mas malaki pa yung family ng PhilHealth member. Then there are less than 20 million in that case.
who is not married, who has no kids.
Mr. President, in their definition, they even consider single persons as family if they are 22 years old and above and single.
Without children.
That is correct. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no problem. Because ganoon talaga. That's really part of it. No?
Yes,
But
Mr.
having said that, Mr. President, okay, I'll try to be brief, no? For there is a subsidy of 43.8 billion
Yes, Mr.
for
President.
PhilHealth. Okay? This is the biggest item in the budget. Okay? 37 billion of the 43 is for indigent families, and that is the 15.4 million you were talking about. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay. How much in the formal economy are the premium contributions?
How much in the formal economy
Yeah.
are the premium contributions?
Correct. Because this is a subsidy. Let's say all our government employees, everyone in the private sector contribute to PhilHealth. You and I, Mr. President, contribute to PhilHealth. It is a payroll tax, Mr. President. Kinakaltas sa sweldo ng lahat ng empleyado yan. If I'm not mistaken, to make the proceedings faster, in 2014, we collected 37 billion. 36 billion 985 million in 2014. Is that correct? I can see the secretary nodding her head.
Yeah. Premium collection is different.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay. So again, let me reiterate. The subsidy for 2016 is 37 billion. You collected roughly 37 billion from the formal economy, not including what you collected of 7.5 billion from the OFWs in 2014. So that's 45 billion, 46. Now, what is your estimate for 2016? How much will you collect from the formal economy and OFWs who are paying members of PhilHealth?
The benefit payments, formal economy,
What's,
January to June 2015. Itong collections namin, itong benefit payouts.
what's his question? Benefit. Mr. President, your question is collection or benefit payments?
No. Premium collection.
Collections.
Premium contributions.
From January to June 2015, 18
From the formal
18 million?
billion.
Billion. 18 billion, Mr. President.
Formal economy yan. So
Yes,
times
Mr. President.
36. So more or less the same as 2014. How much do you expect in 2016? Again, let me reiterate. Formal economy, 37 billion in 2014, 7.5 billion from OFWs. That's roughly 43 billion. You collected in premium contributions in 2014. Right? How much do you expect to collect in 2016? That's the question. You collected 45. How much do you expect to collect in 2016?
Ano ba ito? Bakit yung ganito ka lang? Just explain to me. What explains the difference? Like commission and calculation. Ganun. So, i-offset. Ito.
50? 47.5?
Projected, formal economy lang. Formal economy, 41B. Projected.
Formal economy, 41B, Mr. President.
41B. In 2016.
In 2016.
And then OFW, magkano?
Nasa informal siya.
10?
OFW.
51? 10?
Naka-lump siya as informal.
Wala siyang hiwalay.
Walang hiwalay, Mr. President. Nakalump sa informal.
Yeah, magkano ngayon informal?
Yung informal. Ang projected is 8 billion, Mr. President.
Okay, so 41 plus 8, 49.
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay, so what did we discuss earlier? You have a subsidy of 43, you will collect 49, you add the two, 90 plus billion. Right?
Okay, Mr.
Yun
President.
yung premium contributions plus subsidy makukuha ninyo.
Yes, Mr.
Now,
President.
the 37 earlier of the 43 is for 15.4 million families.
Yes, Mr.
right?
President.
Okay. This 41 plus 8, 49 is for how many families? How many members do you have in the formal and informal sector?
Okay, 88 or 89% of the population.
I'm just giving the magnitude. The subsidy is 43. You will be collecting 49. 43 is more than 15.4 million, including the senior citizens, right?
Yes, Mr. President.
And then you have plus 49, right? How many members would that be? How many families?
Well, 88% of the population.
Entire population yan.
Yeah, around 88, 89 million people.
Around 88 million people.
Okay, so let's simplify. 88 million Filipinos are covered by PhilHealth. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Mr. President.
That is 88% of the population.
Yes, Mr. President.
88% of the population, in effect, in universal or in World Health Standards, that is universal health care. Is that correct?
It should be, Mr.
It
President.
should be, right? Okay. Now, if you were
But, Mr. President,
anyone sick that you went to a government hospital today, shouldn't it be presumed that you are a PhilHealth member? If 88% of the population is already a member of PhilHealth because of the subsidy also of the national government,
yes.
isn't it that
Yes.
the presumption is,
Yes, Mr. President.
right? And therefore, you do not need to have a PhilHealth card.
As of now, indigent are covered 100%. The law requires 100%.
They agree, Mr. President, but they also say that the law requires 100%.
What?
100% coverage.
Okay. Ulitin ko lang, 88% are already covered. If I were to make the calculation, it should be 120 million families na sigurado eh. That means it's 100%. The default is today, if you go to a government hospital, you are a PhilHealth member, yun ang dapat. Kasi nasa 88% na tayo eh. The default is you are a PhilHealth member. That should be the situation. No one should be denied health insurance coverage anymore, Mr. President. That is the point I'm trying to make. The presumption
Yes, Mr.
is
President.
you're a
Yes.
PhilHealth member.
Yes, Mr. President.
Drugs and medicines, yun, 16.6.
Drugs and medicine, 16.6.
All in all, 16.6,
Yes, Mr. President.
Vaccines.
Including vaccines.
including vaccines. Tama ba yun? Masyado malaki. I know it's much less than that.
We included
It should be much less than that.
maintenance medications.
Kasama na dito, Mr. President, cancer drugs, maintenance medicines.
Yung sa ordinaryo para sa mga pasyente, magkano lahat yon? Anyway, we can do that, Mr. President. We can do that even after.
Yes, Mr.
Just
President.
to work with you on this, to get that actual amount. I just wanted to make a point here that I think we're spending very little on drugs and medicines from the data I have. And if I were to put the RH budget, magkano yung total RH mo? 3.7. Diba? Roughly 3.7.
Kaning total?
Last year, your drugs and medicines was 7.8 lang eh. So kung 3.7, kalahati nasa reproductive health. Kalahati lang para sa ibang sakit. Parang ganun lumalabas. I just wanted to put that. Not that I'm against reproductive health. I mean, I voted in favor with amendments. I'm just saying that if you're spending only 7.8 for drugs and medicines, from the data I have, it would appear that 50% you're spending on reproductive health. Okay? That's all I wanted to point out as well. No? So with that, Mr. President, I thank the sponsor of the budget for working with me on this issue and for answering the questions very honestly. Maraming salamat. Mr.
And
Sponsor.
I'd thank my distinguished colleague, Mr. President, for his insightful analysis.